Hi guys, today I wanted to do something slightly different to usual, and I thought I would do a top 5 books great for kind of autumn winter time. Autumn winter is a really good time to kind of get stuck into a book, kind of snuggle up under a blanket and put a candle on and have a hot chocolate, and yeah, I'm excited. I love to read, but it does take me quite a while to get into a book. And the top 5 books I am going to talk about today are books that have kind of stuck with me, and I've kind of remembered them over all like the little chick flicks that I've read kind of on holiday and that, and I thought I would share them with you. I'm sure most of you have kind of heard of some of them, but there's a couple in there that you may not have done, so I thought let's have a little bit of a book club chat. So the first book I wanted to talk about was One Day by David Nichols, and this was a book that kind of a few years ago was really popular, and it kind of won awards and that kind of thing. But if you're maybe a bit younger and you kind of maybe bypass that, then I thought I'd talk a little bit about it. I found this really amazing, and when it was kind of all talked about, that's when I kind of got into it. I've read it before I watched the film, and I would definitely do that if you haven't already watched the film, because I think it is a lot better than the film, and actually I don't really like the film that much, to be honest. If you don't know anything about it, it's about two characters, Emma and Dexter, and they meet on actually the last day of their university, and it's set in Edinburgh in the 80s, and I think that's why I like it so much, because I really love Edinburgh for one thing, and it's quite kind of, the kind of weather is quite gloomy and that kind of thing, and I really like that bit about it. They then also moved to London, and some bits are based in Paris, so it's got kind of a really nice feel to it. Now this is a love story slash drama, but it's not your usual love story, and it's quite realistic in a sense that it's not a fairy tale. It is, you know, it shows the hardships of relationships and kind of life in general, and kind of not necessarily reaching your goals and ambitions like you maybe wanted to. And yeah, I sound like really deep here. What I really like about it as well is it's written in a really interesting way. Each chapter is set on the same day for 20 years, so you kind of get a really nice kind of story told throughout the whole thing. I think that is enough of chat on this one, so yeah, I would really recommend this if you haven't already read it. The next book I want to talk about is one that I absolutely love, but that I actually haven't heard that much about, and I haven't heard many people talk about it, and it is Delirium by Lauren Oliver. This is actually part of a trilogy, and this is the first in the trilogy, and I absolutely love the whole trilogy, but obviously I wanted to talk about the first one first. This is a young adult book, so it's probably more for younger ages than me, but I still would read it now and enjoy it. I did actually read this quite a few years ago. But it's a dystopian type book, which I do love those. Basically it means it's set in a kind of a universe that doesn't really exist now, and more kind of in the future, and I kind of love that sort of thing because it's quite exciting and interesting. I loved this so much, and basically the story goes that a girl called Lena, she's set in this society that believe that love is a disease, and they call that disease deliria, and I just think it's an amazing concept, and it's just such a clever book, and I love it so much. And basically when they get to age 18, they have to have this thing called the cure, which is basically a surgical treatment that gets rid of kind of that love emotion in you. And she is kind of excited for this to happen because that's, you know, what she's used to. But just a few months before she gets to her cure, she actually meets this guy who is called an invalid, which are people that have dodged the cure and kind of gone to live in the wild, and they can actually feel the emotion of love, and she ends up falling in love with him. And I'm not ruining the story, by the way. And she basically, it's kind of a story about her trying to kind of overcome getting the cure, and kind of her fight against it, and her seeing society in a completely different way to how she kind of saw it before. I think this would make an amazing film, but I don't think that they've done it. I believe that they did a pilot and it didn't go down too well, so they haven't done it since. But if you haven't checked this out already, then please go and read it, because I love it, and I would love to chat to some of you about this. So if you have read it as well, please chat in the box below so I know. Okay, the next book I want to talk about is a little bit okay, just because everyone is talking about it now, but I actually read this before the hype kind of came in, and yeah, anyway, it is Me Before You, and I have spoken about this on my channel before. I love this book so much, and there is now a sequel to it called After You, which I did actually really enjoy. I know that not many people did, but I liked it. And if you are unfamiliar with this, if you haven't kind of gotten to the hype, then it's about a girl called Louisa Clark. She is 26 years old, she's kind of in a bit of a rut in her life, and she finds a job that is basically a carer for a guy called Will Trainer. Now Will in the past has had a really successful life, really good businessman, but also really, really sporty, so he loved kind of going on ski holidays and all of that. And then he is in an accident, again I'm not ruining it, and he ends up being in a wheelchair, paralysed, and her job is to go in and kind of care for him. This just tells a story of kind of how they help each other kind of fight their demons and everything like that. It's a really, really emotional book, and if you're not kind of one into a bit of a sob story, then you may not like this, but it just really hit me hard, and it really made me think about life in a really deep way. And yeah, I could just bang on about this for ages, but I love it, and it's definitely got a little place in my heart. Okay, moving on to the next book. Now the next two books I don't actually have a physical book of because I read them on a Kindle. So the next book I'm going to talk about is Into the Darkest Corner. And this is not really my usual type of book. If you kind of noticed, a lot of my books are kind of in the romancy genre. But the next book is actually a crime thriller, and I am definitely not a crime thriller kind of gal. It's about a lady called Catherine, and she has a bit of a horrible husband who is really, really controlling and sometimes very frightening. So she decides to escape and kind of escape that marriage, which she does. And then 4 years later, when she kind of thinks that her life is kind of back on track, lots of strange things start to happen, and it makes you feel so on edge and at times like really frightened. But I'm a bit of a wimp, so if I managed it then you guys will if you're interested. But it is so, so good, and I just remember at times being like, oh my god, like, yeah, it's freaky. Yeah, I absolutely loved it, and if you are into kind of a thrillery, crimey kind of books, then definitely check it out. Yeah, definitely one to recommend. The next book I want to talk about is actually one that, again, I haven't really heard many people talking about. The book is called Maybe Someday, and it's by a lady called Colleen Hoover, I think is how you say it. This, again, is one of those books that I didn't expect anything from it, but for some reason it really, really hit me. But it's very emotional again. Basically it's about a girl called Sydney. She's 20 years old, she's at college, she loves her boyfriend. She actually then realises that her boyfriend is cheating on her. Again, I'm not spoiling the story. She always kind of chills out on her balcony, and she ends up kind of being really hooked by her neighbour, who is a really attractive kind of mysterious guy that sits on his balcony too and playing the guitar. It sounds really lame, but honestly I can tell you it's not. Basically they end up kind of coming together and meeting, and it is one of those stories that has a bit of a twist to it, and I'm not going to kind of go into more detail, but it's basically one of those books that these two people really like need each other for like much deeper reasons than just kind of loving each other. And I absolutely loved this book, and I really want everyone else to read it and talk about it, because I don't know why, it's just one of those books that again makes you kind of think a little bit more about life. And I don't want to spoil it too much, so I'm not going to kind of go on about that too much. Anyway, I am going to link all the books below so that you can kind of go and check them out and have a little read. If you've read any of the books, please let me know in the comments so we can have a little chin wag about it. And please recommend any books as well that you think by kind of those types of books what I may like. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I don't know if everyone's going to enjoy it, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. Don't forget to like this video, and if you are new, please subscribe, and I will see you again soon. Bye! Now I want to snuggle up and read a book.